Hello and welcome to Around South Jersey. I'm your host tonight, Erica Milbourne, and I'm so excited because at this time of the year things are changing. Spring going into summer, and then we see a lot of things happening, blossoming, growing. And as we grow, we hope that life grows with us with changes that will affect us in such a positive way. My guest tonight is someone that is a New Jersey born and raised.
Oh, yeah.
Born and raised. So he's a native of New Jersey, and he wants to see us grow. Correct?
Definitely better than shrinking, without doubt.
Definitely. So my guest tonight is Joe Salerno. He is the Democratic candidate for Congress, and he's with us. He's going to talk about what his plans are if elected, and when. Let's say when. We're going to speak positive.
We definitely
when elected. What his plans are for Congress, for you, for me, for us. And Joe, welcome to our show Around South Jersey. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, Erica. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, we hear so many candidates are running. You see the names, and I'm not even going to name them, but we have Van Drew. I know that we have Alexander. So they're running from different, whether Republican or Democrat, running for office for Congress. And then you wonder, who should you vote for? We don't know. So to get us a little more acquainted with you, tell us who you are. Who is Joe Salerno?
All right. Well, thanks. Listen, it's nice to have a format like this where you can kind of just chat casually, right? Typically, when you're speaking to folks, you might have 3 minutes or 10 minutes to make a presentation.
No, you have an hour.
There's a great deal of pressure to try to explain yourself. But look, I'm Jersey born and raised, like you said. I grew up actually in Middlesex County, which I know it's a contentious point, but I do believe that there is a central Jersey, and
I agree.
So I grew up in a place called South Plainfield, and it was really kind of an idyllic childhood. My dad worked for the Veterans Administration. He was a physical therapist. He was a World War II vet. He was a POW, captured in the Battle of the Bulge. And Mom was a school secretary. So my sister and I grew up in a little Cape Cod house, and it was all about Little League and Pop Warner football and public high. So it was a wonderful way to grow up. So I'm 61, so that I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and it seemed like such a quaint time compared to how contentious things are today.
So growing up, you've I won't date you. You said 61.
I'm embracing my age. It is what it is.
But we've seen so many changes take place. So from what you've seen growing up till now, what encouraged you or motivated you to want to get involved in politics and to make a change for New Jersey?
Well, listen, what motivates me to get into politics, and just to be clear, I'm running as a Democrat in the Democratic primary here in New Jersey 2nd. And it's about the growing rancor that we've seen over the past couple of decades. I didn't have any particular political ambition. So I was educated as an engineer. I got a professional engineering license. I built parts for aircraft and for we actually had a couple of parts that flew on a space shuttle.
Nice.
So it was fun to be able to create things and see things that you designed come into reality. And that evolved into running a business of my own. I ran a machine shop for several years in the early 90s. And then I ran software businesses. That's where I had most of my career. And my wife and I raised 4 kids. And we actually raised them in Mercer County, again, still in Central Jersey, and they're all public school kids like I was. But I got involved, just to get back to your question, I went to law school at night along the way. And I thought I'd be a lawyer, but after businesses start to really become my primary vocation, I just went back in order to kind of finish what I started. And what I enjoyed the most was studying constitutional history, civil rights. I worked in the Constitutional Litigation Clinic, and it might sound a little trite, but I've become truly enamored of our constitutional design, and I see how important that innovation was when we created this republic, and to see it denigrated in the way it is, the kind of frivolous way that too many politicians now treat this government. I felt more and more agitated about how we're letting very, very important things slip away. And it really, by the time January 6th happened, I was utterly appalled. And I felt like, especially given the incumbent here in New Jersey, second, his basically his romance with President Trump, and the irresponsible way that he's reacted to these changes.
Okay.
I felt it was very important that we put a serious challenge in and try to bring a level of earnestness and respect back to government, and not have politics by outrage turn into government by outrage.
Exactly. So when you talk about, and I do want to stay with your history and what brought you to this point, but you brought up January 6th. Now, I don't know if this is a good time or not, but it's been said that, Trump has said that if he becomes president again, he literally wants to just dismantle the whole Constitution, destroy, just tear it up, and you know what, create our own, or I don't even know what he wants to do. If he destroys that, then what will happen? So how do you feel when you hear things like that?
Look, it's
knowing your history, which that your passion for the Constitution.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard my side, because President Trump really challenges us.
Mm-hmm.
Like how literally and how seriously should we take him? If you take him literally, it's absolutely terrifying. Right? So he said, I don't respect the outcome of the 2020 election. He repeats it over and over. He makes everyone in his orbit agree, or he dismantles
Remove them.
Right?
Exactly.
And he's made it clear that results, if he doesn't win, he won't respect the results in 24, and no matter what our laws, even if they're found in the Constitution. And see, that to me, this is slipping past what you might describe as troubling, and even un-American seems insufficient. If we're not going to respect our laws, this is kind of the fundamental innovation, right?
Exactly.
We're government of laws, not of men. So it's irresponsible for him to engage in that rhetoric, and what's given the evidence of January 6th, and that he'll call those folks hostages instead of convicts.
Right.
It's so troubling that I don't think it's fair to say that we should give him a shot.
I think I would say you had a shot. You showed us what you are capable of, and how it's like putting dye in water. So we see that when you put the dye in, it spreads, and it seems like when he was in office, his rhetoric spread. Like it spread. January 6th kind of shows that it spread, and it brought out some of the worst in some of the people. Because I don't believe every American's like that. We know they're not, but we do realize that depending on how you present yourself, it encourages others to either jump on the bandwagon or to stand up, as you have decided to stand up. And we appreciate that.
Erica, that's a very interesting metaphor. I hadn't heard that one with the but it shouldn't be at all surprising. Anybody who studies history is, if this way of arousing people by teasing the most negative emotions is a tried and true way of provoking people, right? You stimulate animosity, provoke jealousy, you incite prejudice.
You bring out the worst.
Yeah, and it works. I mean, we are, we're all fallen, right?
Well, we're not going to fall. We're actually going to stand up. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a break. We're going to take a little break, listen to some commercials, see some of our sponsors, and then we're going to come right back. So don't go away. We'll be right back with more of Joe Salerno.
In Cumberland County, let's recycle right. We recycle cardboard, paper, aluminum, tin, and plastics number 1 and 2. Look for the 3-arrow triangle usually on the bottom of the plastic container. The number in the center determines the plastic number. Remember to recycle only number 1 and 2 plastics. Plastic bags, plastic film, hoses, and wires are not recyclable. They can damage sorting equipment and create hazardous working conditions. Don't trash our future. Do the right thing. Remember, reduce, reuse, and recycle.
More than a century ago, General Tire was born, right here in America. Since then, we've made a name for ourselves at making tires you can depend on. Tires built to handle any road this country can throw at them, and relied on by every kind of driver. So you know that no matter where life takes you, with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
At Mintz Insurance, we're proud to have been serving our customers for nearly 80 years, offering 30 different insurance products for your auto, home, and business. And to help ensure that you're getting the best rates possible, we give you up to 3 quotes for every policy, so you can choose what's right for you. At Mintz, we're part of the community, local representatives, supporting events, and proud of it. It's part of who we are. Mintz Insurance. Call today and find out how we can help you save on insurance, or visit us at mintzinsurance.com.
Hey, check this out. Hernia repair.
That ain't nothing, man. Kidney surgery.
That's nothing. Gallbladder removal.
That's nothing. Spinal repair.
I don't see nothing.
Exactly.
Minimally invasive robotic surgery at Inspira Health. Scar so small, it's almost like nothing ever happened.
Starts even.
Welcome back to Around South Jersey. I'm your host tonight, Erica Milbourne, and with us we have Joe Salerno. He is the Democrat running for the for Congress, and we've been talking about who he is, where he's from, January 6th, which is such a hot topic when it comes to politics. Donald Trump, he's always adding a little flame to that fire. If I could say he has a tool of logs, so he just throws one on every now and then just to keep it hot and fiery. So, Joe, thank you and welcome to our show tonight. I did want to ask you, how important is it for the Democratic Party to take control of the House? There's a lot on the table. I would say there's a lot at stake here, and we need to know how important is it for us to get Biden back in. I mean, I'm not happy with everything. I'm not even going to pretend. I'm not happy with all this going on. We have so much, going on, abroad and here. But how important is it for the Democratic Party to control the House?
Well, look, it's vitally important. And look, here in South Jersey, we got to look at what we can actually control. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's fair to say that we can't really change the stakes in the presidential. Our 14 electoral college votes, much to perhaps the chagrin of President Trump and Jefferson, Van Drew, and Wildwood. This is a blue state, and those votes will go to Biden, and we really can't change the stakes in the Senate, right? I'd change it, swapping Andy Kim for Bob Menendez won't make it any more or less likely that the Republicans will take that House. So when it comes to the House of Representatives, this could be the last line of defense. And I look at it this way: whether Trump wins or loses, we will need a strong House, because if Biden wins, we would need a strong House to protect the results of that election. And if Trump wins, I think you need a strong House to resist his clear authoritarian impulses. So I think there's very little that is more important than winning winnable seats like we have here in New Jersey. Second, I mean, people misapprehend this district. There has been some lopsided wins for Republicans, but it is traditionally a purple district. Biden lost by just 5 points here 4 years ago, and traditionally we've sent pretty genial, moderate folks like Bill Hughes for 20 years and Frank Lobiondo for 24 years, regardless of party. Right. There was a certain kind of comportment and moderation and sensibility where you felt comfortable with the people representing with you, even if you disagree.
Exactly.
And that, even if you look at Van Drew winning in 2018, he wins by 8 points over Seth Grossman, which the press of Atlantic City said was too MAGA for the district at the time. I think it's important to keep in mind that this is a winnable seat, and we need to not give in, and we need to give a real effort to unseat Van Drew, because he has left moderation aside. He is completely a Trump enabler at this point. Look, I don't know, Eric, if you saw the film of the rally this past weekend, but he actually wore an identical suit. I mean, he wore the same suit as Donald Trump, same tie. It was a bit of a mini-me there, and as he left the stage, it was audible on the mic. He whispered, "I love you," to President Trump. So, I mean, you have someone who doesn't have the courage of his own convictions. He's utterly now controlled by President Trump. So there'll be no resistance for anything that Trump might do, regardless of the subject matter, because Congressman Van Drew has made it clear he's got no guiding principles of his own
Well,
anymore.
he tried to blame the Democratic Party. That his switch was because of the Democratic Party. He felt compelled. He had to do what he needed to do. And it wasn't for selfish gain, or it wasn't because he thought by switching parties he would, win. He switched parties because he said the Democratic Party had so many issues that he felt as though it wasn't cohesive for him to stay.
Well, let's take inventory, right? So Churchill said some men leave their party for sake of principle,
Right.
and some people leave their principles for sake of party.
Exactly.
All right. So now let's just
Which one was he?
Yeah, let's just assess. I mean,
Yes.
so when he was elected in 2018 to Congress, he said, days after he was sworn in, that I am strongly and unequivocally pro-choice, and any efforts to weaken that right will meet my strong resistance. It's probably a direct quote, if not close. And that got him an F rating from the Susan B. Anthony
Exactly.
pro-life lobby. Now, he's got an A, their highest honor. Why? Because he's consistently voting to undermine a woman's right to choose. Now, that's nothing to do with party. That has to do with position. This is a man who had a 100% rating in Congress in 2019 with the AFL-CIO. Every year, it dropped by 10, 20 points until last year, absolute zero. And we see this on issue after issue, whether it's veterans or the Pride community. It's not that he's been a constant and parties have switched. He's clearly switched. And it's really just because he's been seduced by Trump and Trumpism.
I mean, him and a lot of other people have actually been seduced, as you using your quote, your words. They've been seduced by Trump and his words, his actions. I think he opens up a door to make it clear for people to act and do on things that are just not morally ethical. And that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. But the importance of, I think one of the things that our viewers and just people around the whole state needs to understand, it's so important to come out to the lower level voting. Come out, vote for your city. It starts there. Everyone always comes out on the presidential election. But you have to come out for your local government. You have to come out for the lower level of government and vote there. That's where the changes start.
Well, look, Tip O'Neill back in the 70s said all politics are local. It's really turned upside down now, right? So even though there's vitally important local issues that we all should be mindful of, it seems to get lost in these great national debates because of all the provocative outrage that goes on right now. So your point about voting, let's face it, that's the great Republican principle that Madison talked about, that we have to have the intelligence to elect persons with wisdom and virtue. And we get lost in this issues discussion, and they're important. Don't get me wrong. There's so many. There's probably 24 seemingly intractable issues that we need to give serious thought to, and we need serious people to find areas of compromise so we can have effective change. But it starts with electing people who have the courage of their convictions.
Exactly.
And Kennedy said, democracy depends on us electing representatives who will exercise conscientious judgment and devotion to principle. And that's what I would ask people to think about today. When you look at who should represent you at any level, let's look at those qualities of character first, because those are people that you can trust.
Well, I think that's what's lost, having character. We no longer, I think we're so seduced by reality TV, because that's what it has become. Everything we view on television is reality TV. It's the people that slap each other, or they act like friends in public and they get behind each other and talk about each other behind their back. So the reality TV syndrome is what I call it, is what politics has become. So we enjoy watching Donald Trump, berate other people and belittle other people, and I grab him by the, it's like fun. Oh wow, he's down to earth. He calls it like it is.
Yeah.
So we have gotten so seduced, to me, by reality TV that we live for it, and that it almost becomes the way we want to live. Oh, he's keeping it real. I heard people say, oh, I like him because he keeps it real. He doesn't sugarcoat it. He doesn't. So we like the berating of other people, belittling them and making them feel less than. It seems like that's what we look forward to. Because when you turn on the TV, that's what you get. When you talk about politicians, that's what you get, it seems like.
Well, listen, I am very pleased that I don't watch a lot of reality TV.
I don't either, but if you turn on the news, you get it.
None of this sounds surprising to you because I do watch politicians on TV.
And it seems like it.
And yeah, we've gone from, entertainment by outrage to politics by outrage, right? Instead of just seeing, political talking heads, assailing one another. We're seeing actual politicians do it when they're running for office, and now we're actually seeing them do it in hearing rooms, just last night, right? On the floor of Congress. Now, we've been here before and we've made it through, but it will take sobriety here by the voting public to say, I've had enough of this. We have serious problems. We need to start addressing them.
When we talk about serious problems, and we're just going to go right past the commercial because I want to stay on this serious problem issue. Here in South Jersey, that's where I'm at. I can't speak for the whole state of New Jersey, but I can tell you serious issues, homelessness. What do you plan? What is your thoughts? What is your plans? How do you want to attack it? It's become an outrage here in the city of Millville. Where we are here in Millville, South Jersey. It has become an outrage. The homeless population, people on corners with signs. I grew up in Millville, born and raised. This is something I've never seen. It's in front of our local businesses that are good, honest, hardworking people trying to have a business, trying to, I don't like stepping over people to go into a business. I don't like, they're out drunk, they're out, I don't know the intent. What is your plans? What are your thoughts on what can be done with the homeless population here that's growing in South Jersey or just Jersey across? Because I'm imagining if it's happening here in South Jersey, it's definitely happening North Jersey where it's even more populated. So what is your plan of attack?
Well, look, it's nationwide, and look, I won't be so boastful as to say that a problem like homelessness that Joe Salerno here in New Jersey Second comes with the toolkit that will solve that problem without any possibility of failure. I think thematically, though, we know which direction we have to go. My wife and I were at a dinner last night in Cape May County. We live in Lower Township. Okay. It was honoring veterans, and several of the veteran leaders spoke about homelessness relevant to veterans. Okay. We actually had an encampment in Middle Township where they were bringing tents and blankets and food for homeless. There happened to be veterans, but also just to help all. And the local administration basically outlawed the tents to cast them aside. So to just sweeping these people aside is clearly not the answer. Right? So we can start there. And I think the Biden administration has made clear that the right answer is housing first, right? So they do have it's a multi-100-page plan, but instead of trying to solve the dozens of problems that these individuals are going through, let's first get them safely housed. Okay. So then the problem becomes where? Exactly. So
and in whose neighborhood? Because that becomes the problem. People they don't want halfway houses in their neighborhoods, let alone a housing for homeless people that normally are not just dealing with homeless. It's mental illness. That normally the number one problem is mental illness. So now you're bringing that into communities. I don't have an answer. So I'm with you when it says there's no we wish we could click your heels together, everyone's home, but you have to think where do you put these because I've heard people say we have enough abandoned buildings, enough buildings that are just closed down, they're not being used, they're vacant. How about if we set them up to be housing? But you just can't do that because that doesn't resolve the mental issue that the person is dealing with.
True. It's not the end of the story for folks. Exactly. But it is the beginning, right? And that's the necessary first step. So to create that housing stock in appropriate places wherever they may be, and that will become a contentious local issue, okay, possibly, but it's an imperative, right? And I think that's something that I'd like to remind people when we kind of have the liberal versus conservative debate about what government should do and should not do. Well, even those people who think it favor relatively small government. I'd remind people that government has an obligation to act when there's a necessity, right? And if we can't look at a problem like homelessness and say we have a necessity to act, I think we have a real moral failing in the fabric of our community. So we have a necessity to act. Now we need to do so in an effective and efficient way. So we have to find that way. And that kind of brings us back to those issues of character, right? So if you have a deliberative body and you have, I don't care if it's 7 people on your local council or it's 435 people in the House of Representatives, it's important that each person come to that discussion with an earnest desire to advance the common good, right? It doesn't mean that you come in with a mindset that I have the answer and it cannot be in my community and I'll fight to the death here. It's about representing your constituency for the benefit of the whole. And we simply have to find these solutions. And look, the homelessness is a collateral effect of a larger problem of just a lack of residential housing. And I think advancing on that front, we're seeing real progress around the nation in making it more profitable to deliver more kinds of housing. So we're 6 million housing units or residential units short countrywide. And we're seeing changing in zoning to allow multifamily. We're seeing auxiliary dwelling units, right? We're seeing these problems. There are ways to solve this problem. And look, it's change, and change is uncomfortable, and some people will be concerned. Well, look, I want to keep my idyllic neighborhood, and this is something that we want. That is one of the considerations. But we have people who have real need, and we have to take care for them. It's our obligation.
The homeless population or the homeless situation is an urgency. It's urgent. I think it needs urgent attention. An urgent solution, which I don't think there's a one size that fits all in this situation, unfortunately, because you're dealing with so many pieces, whether it's mental, illness, whether it's, a veteran that's come home with, nothing, or just someone that's been, unable to provide. So it's definitely an urgent situation. And people are questioning. They want to know what is being done about the homeless population. It's more than just a code blue in the winter time. It's more than just a blanket or a feeding facility where they can go get breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's an urgent situation, and it's a shame that there is no one size fit all.
Well, and I'd say the larger residential problem is urgent as well. I mean, look at young people and housing unaffordability, right? I mean, we've made it extraordinarily difficult for young people to own a home, which,
I want to come back. I will go to that commercial right this minute, but I want to come back to that. I want to discuss the rising cost of being able to just affordable housing, period, for even the working class. So we're going to take a break. We're going to go to some commercials. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Life on Earth offers some challenges. Things are constantly changing. Seems like we're fighting battles all the time. But you're a warrior for God, and He's given you the armor of God. Join Pastor Myers for this exciting series on how to be equipped to win. It begins May 5th at 11 a.m.
New Life Church, Millville, New Jersey.
Imagine living without pain. For over 35 years, Doctors Beebe and Doyle have helped thousands of people find relief from all types of pain. Millville Chiropractic Center has 4 doctors on staff specializing in hands-on or light-touch, drug-free pain relief methods. The examination, x-rays, therapies, and adjustments are all performed at one location. Schedule a consultation today. Enjoy life without pain and discomfort. Millville Chiropractic Center, the area's #1 pain relief center.
Many people treat their health like a game. With the Complete Care Health Network, it's easy to start your healthcare journey. Our mental health services focus on the emotions and behaviors that affect your overall well-being and features psychiatric, counseling, and addiction services, including our exclusive Fresh Start program, designed to help combat the opioid epidemic in our communities, plus all the other specialties you expect from Complete Care. Level up your health with us. The Complete Care Health Network. No games, just great healthcare for everyone.
The most important decisions a family can make are usually made around the kitchen table.
At DeMarco Luisi Funeral Home, we believe pre-planning and the difficult decisions you face with the loss of a loved one should also be made around the comfort of a table, like a family. Our friendly, kind, and compassionate staff is committed to helping you get through this most difficult time. In your time of need, trust DeMarco Luisi Funeral Home, Vineland.
Welcome back to Around South Jersey. I'm your host, Erica Milbourne, and our guest tonight, Joe Salerno, Democratic candidate for Congress is with us, and we have been talking about homelessness. If you were just with us, we're coming back in from that. We were talking about January 6th, what's going on with that. And, we have a couple more points. Our time is running slow, but we have to discuss, one, the rising costs of living in New Jersey, and then I would love to discuss Planned Parenthood. Okay? So let's talk about the rising cost, because they kind of go hand in hand. It makes you kind of think, should I have kids? Should I not have kids? It's kind of, can I afford it? Because I got to house them. We can't be homeless. So the rising, what are your ideas?
It's interesting that you tie
put them together.
Procreation and affordability. I often, but my wife and I, my wife did most of the work. We had 4 children, over 8 years, and I look back at the 90s as an optimistic time, right? So but if you talk about affordability, the essentials of life, right? We think about healthcare, education, childcare, housing. And these are things that government has tried to make more affordable for us. And the general approach is, let's provide tax incentives or subsidies along these things. But there's already an abundance of demand, that we have an essential need for all of these things. So it should be unsurprising that that's resulted in higher inflation, right? You subsidize demand, prices go up. So, and sometimes you need to do that, but not in these essentials.
Okay.
So I think it's time for us to start thinking about, how do we make sure we can deliver more supply? We talked about housing a minute ago, but it's true also of doctors and hospitals.
Exactly.
Right? In child care services. How do we make it easier to deliver more of these essentials? That will let markets bring prices down. And personally, I also feel I'm strongly in favor of transitioning more to refundable tax credits, like the earned income tax credit, the child care tax credit, because it gives people the autonomy to use to make choices for themselves and how they could best maximize their happiness in kind of the vernacular of back in the constitutional days. But to me, I don't, as I guess part of my training as an engineer, I kind of look at balanced solutions. So I don't think we should just kind of close our eyes and hope markets ultimately solve these problems.
Right.
Nor do I think the government should be doing every last thing for us. But I do think if we have targeted legislation that can stimulate the delivery of these services, and we give people the autonomy to use their money as wisely as possible, we can affect real change. And look, one House member out of 435 can't change the world overnight,
Exactly.
but I do think these are the kind of ideas we should be putting forward.
Yeah, because that's a big issue. And during the break, I was saying I have 2 adult sons, 35 and 30, and I'm like, I really don't want to live with them, because I kind of like being independent, because at some point, I don't know how, but I became the child. Like, Mom, where are you at? Mom, what are you doing? Mom, are you home? Mom,
It's nice
are you
they
out?
care.
Is that what it is, or are they really just become the men in my life? Which one is it?
Well, I don't know. I don't think we have a couch here to analyze
So
that.
I can't get on that couch. But I really would like to one day see them have their own homes. So I have my oldest son. He does have his own home. And this is going to take us right into Planned Parenthood, basically. He has his own home. Him and his wife built a 4-bedroom house. And then they came up with the issue of...
They stayed nearby you?
They're like 20 minutes from me.
Oh, that's nice.
They didn't go far.
Right.
And I am they just had their... I'm a proud grandmom. My first grandson was born Valentine's Day.
Nice.
So, and like I said, they're 35. They call themselves trying to do it the right way. You know, like, Mom, we dated, we got married, we built a home, then we had a child. And with that being done, I was just so proud of them, but I also knew the cost that's involved. So now they're like, Mom, we need you to be a babysitter because we can't afford it all.
Yeah.
And then, so they went from that to now, Mom, we want to keep up with Planned Parenthood. We need to keep up with contraception. We need to keep up with not having another one. We need to, wait a minute. So this whole sticker shock thing has hit them now in 3 months. Just imagine. So with Planned Parenthood, what are your plans? Are you for it, against it? Because some are talking about doing away with Planned Parenthood.
Well, look, I mean, Planned Parenthood it's essential health care for women, so in lots of regions, including our own. But in at the crux of the issues is these are fundamental liberty issues, right? I mean, so abortion and choice is probably right there with protecting democracy as the two most important things about our candidacy. And I feel like we can't allow this to be swept under the rug, right? So after Roe v. Wade, people forget Roe v. Wade is essentially a compromise, right? So it allows women the choice to whether they continue a pregnancy. And I think it's important to keep in mind that the alternate of that is that the government requires a woman to continue a pregnancy against her will. So this is an incredible impairment of liberty, right? I mean, I can't think of anything more burdensome. But Roe v. Wade, it did allow for significant restrictions in third trimester, so long as the health of the mother was always protected. And I think of it in terms of, a woman has a choice whether or not to continue a pregnancy, but then nature makes a choice sometimes, and we have to respect that the extreme characterization that Democrats are somehow in favor of terminating pregnancies in the third trimester of healthy fetuses in healthy women. It's simply a fiction. I mean, Donald Trump has actually said, and Congressman Van Drew has repeated, that Democrats are for executing infants post-birth. I mean, it's beyond ludicrous, right? No one is for that.
Exactly.
But we have to respect whatever restrictions might be applicable in the third trimester, that the health of the mother is absolutely never in question. And yet, when we see the practical effect of taking the other view, right, that if we take a view that we won't allow abortion post-conception, look what that does, right? And now we see young women who are obliged to carry to term, children of their rapists. We see embryos in test tubes that are dropped that's homicide.
It's being charged. The facility is charged if they somehow destroy those embryos or fall.
We see a woman in Ohio who miscarried it in a public restroom, being criminally charged with abuse of a corpse. And if anyone in Texas aids a pregnant woman to leave the state to get an abortion, they are committing a crime, or they could be charged with a crime. We see so this is a civil rights issue that the federal government can't ignore. Now, whether the judicial branch decides to abdicate that responsibility, the legislative branch cannot. Right? It needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed in a way where, despite any personal passions, right, you may be absolutely convinced that you have the absolute right view of how these rights should be balanced. But I think if you enter elected office and have a responsibility for a larger society, you need to open the door to the potential of your own fallibility. And you have to enter these conversations or negotiations with others with a dutiful respect for their views, and find the balance that maximizes the happiness, bring the most happiness for the most people. And in this case, I think it's crystal clear. Roe v. Wade served us well for 50 years. We need to legislate this so that we can put this issue back to rest. Because far too much harm is happening in 26 states where abortion is severely restricted. So I think I might have wandered away from Planned Parenthood, but this is
part of it, because Planned Parenthood, that's where you would normally go to get the initial result. I mean, I remember many years ago, they used to have a clinic here in Millville, Planned Parenthood Center it was called. It was Planned Parenthood, and you'd go there and they would provide you with, contraceptive, birth control, whatever you needed, whether, that's what they would provide you with. They would take the test if you wanted to get a test for whether it was, a STD, or if you want to be tested for pregnancy. They would provide these different options for women to come in and get these, these procedures. I'm not talking about an abortion, but they would give them the, tools they needed, the information, Planned Parenthood, to make wise decisions if they weren't sure. And it seems like those facilities, those clinics, those healthcare providers are gone. I like the fact that birth control they're reducing the dosages so where you could actually buy them over the counter. So you don't always have to have a script to go in and you could actually go in and buy birth control over the counter. I mean, I think women should have a choice.
Of course.
A choice.
Of course.
I don't want to commit murder. I don't want to assist anybody in committing murder. I don't want to be responsible for it. But I think a woman with her own conscience, her own belief, her own religious background should be able to make the choice of what she wants. I don't think someone else should make that choice for her.
It's fundamental. Erica, you said it very well, right? And I couldn't agree more. And I think, and it's really important to put it in the context of personal liberty. What is this? What is the country all about, right? What is the essential? I think we've confused what it means to be American.
It's not a dictatorship here.
And look, I mean,
and that's what it seems like at times. It seems like this whole Roe versus Wade, people want to turn it around and become dictators and say, just get rid of that. We're going to tell you what you can and can't do. Right. And I think that's where the problem comes.
The essence of liberty is to choose to do or not to.
Not to do.
Right, and the only time the government should be making choices for you is in some situation of compelling necessity, and this is where I think we need to have serious people to talk to.
This is totally not here, but we're talking about Roe versus Wade and a women's right to choose. How do you think men fit into that? Because men feel like they should be able to say, I don't want it, you go get rid of it. And if you don't, I shouldn't have to pay. This has not been anything that anyone discusses, and they don't say that. But from a man's point of view, that being a father of an unborn fetus, should a man have the right to say, this is what I want. I want her to keep it. I don't want her to keep it. I mean, no one ever looks at the man's point of view, it seems like. And that's just me, throwing a little...
Yeah, you're throwing a big curveball here,
Well, this has got to be serious, and and this is a serious question, because I've heard men say, I don't want it. I'll give her money to go. Or there's men that say, I really wanted it, and she got rid of my baby. So we never look at the man's side of this, I don't think.
Well, look, how should we unpack that, right? So I look at it this way. If we are talking about, first, does a woman have a right to terminate her pregnancy, right?
They say, my body, my choice.
Look, this is pretty stark, right? Because the alternative is the government says, no, you don't have a choice. You must continue it. So now you're proffering here a possibility. Well, what if the man involved can say, I command you to have that.
And if you don't,
I think we've answered the question already. Okay. It's preposterous on his face, right? I mean, no, this is not a patriarchy. It's not, as much as I think there are some impulses in this nation where people want to go back to that sort of misogynistic culture. I mean, it's ridiculous on his face.
Okay, I've had your men say
you had me going for a second.
I've had men literally say, I don't have a choice in it. I don't have a choice. And really the man becomes that he really doesn't.
No.
It's all her choice. And if he doesn't want the child, because he's 50-50 consensual like she was, we're not going by, anything, rape or anything like that. We're talking about a 50-50 consensual, let's do this. She gets pregnant and he's like, I really don't want the baby. And she's like, well, I want it. So now he's like, child support, different things. And he's like, but I didn't want it. And then you have that other side where he's like, I want it. And she's like, sorry.
Well, they're
having.
These are not perfectly balanced burdens and benefits, right? And so this has
Do you
happened.
think there ever come a time where the man can be considered?
Well, look, I think if we ever got to a technology point where someone other than a woman can
conceive,
carry a child to term,
We're not even,
never
mind.
That could happen, I guess.
Forget I even said that. Forget it. Well, before we close, we need you to tell our viewers how important it is to vote. The importance of getting out the vote. Get out and vote. How important is it?
Erica, so here's what I'd say to people, and it's really why I'm running. We get the government we deserve. And if there's so many people, especially young people I speak to, are utterly disillusioned. They're unhappy with both choices and both parties. I understand that feeling that the kind of game is rigged against you no matter what. But I assure you that this is the best form of government that has ever been invented. It was remarkable that 250 years ago, a group of people had the courage and the temerity to say, we'll no longer be governed by monarchs or by churches, that we will govern ourselves. It's our responsibility now to make sure that we can make this work, or we're going to fall back and give up that great gift of self-government. And it's really on all of us. So there's this absolute necessity that we stop allowing ourselves to be manipulated by these calls to our baser instincts, our calls to fear and jealousy and prejudice, and look for people who will be serious about advancing the common good. I put myself forward on that. There's other good candidates in this primary. We here in my campaign have made it mandatory that we are prepared to mount the kind of campaign that can be successful in the general, because the opposition here is not the other Democrats in this race. It's the incumbent Jefferson Van Drew. For whatever he may have been, however likable he might have been when he went to your Boy Scout banquet, or whatever he did in all these years to be successful as a politician here in New Jersey for decades, he has clearly left that behind. And he is now only interested in reinforcing everything that President Trump has said, which is leading to divisiveness and rancor, and could potentially lead us into authoritarianism. And I think it couldn't be more important that people take steps to prevent that outcome, because it's a one-way street.
So we're going to close with, how can people get involved in your campaign? Maybe contribute or follow you, or your website. How can they follow you and get involved?
All right. Well, thanks for that. So JoeSalernoForCongress.com is our website, and we are on Facebook and X and Instagram, and we do have events all through coming up in the days through the primary. So if you did email the campaign or just put a message on our website, we might be nearby you, and we'd love to meet you, in person. And sure. Yeah.
Don't forget, JoeSalernoForCongress.com.
That's it.
Follow him, like him on Facebook. I'm sure you're on Twitter. Is Twitter even a thing? TikTok is the new thing.
We're not on TikTok.
Not on TikTok,
no.
But follow him on Instagram, Facebook. Be sure to follow. That's JoeSalernoForCongress.com. Participate, get out, contribute, vote, become a part of it, and make yourself knowledgeable. Get more information, become informed. That way you can vote with confidence, and you can feel like you're putting your vote to a good use and behind the right candidate. So Joe, anything else you want to say?
Just thank you very much. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Definitely. It was a pleasure meeting you. I thank you for coming on Around South Jersey. So we're going to wrap it up for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us around South Jersey, and be sure to get out and get that vote out there.
This has been a QBC television production in association with our partners and sponsors. QBC broadcasts on Comcast Cable Channel 22 and live streams its programming on Facebook and YouTube. All rights reserved by Quinn Media and QBC, programming that serves the South Jersey market.